Welcome back to Rose Above It Reads. I'm Whitney, or Rose Above It, and today I'm going to tell you where I'm at in June, what my plans are for July, and what I've currently got set up for that. So, first of all, June, I have already read 5 books, which is remarkable. Went from not having finished any to having finished 5, so already successful YouTube channel, because one of the main goals was to get me to read more. So I already have a review up for White Rage and White Fragility. I kind of put it all together. It's kind of a mess, but I did get one comment saying they liked it. So maybe not too much of a mess. Feel free to check it out. I still owe 3 other ones because I finished Genius, Brown Girl Dreaming, and An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. If you have preferences on which of those that I should prioritize reviewing, please let me know. I think that I might end up finishing books faster than I can review them, which is kind of a neat problem to have. I was not expecting. So yeah, let me know. I also think that I will be able to finish 2 more books in this month because one of them is really close and then it's only one other one. So Systemantics, I'm very close, just have a little bit left, and that's got the subtitle How Systems Work and especially How They Fail. So that I'm very much hoping to finish and get ready for review. And then I'm also hoping to finish Kindred by Octavia Butler. It's been great so far. I have had a hard time making time for reading. 3 of the books that I've finished so far have been audiobooks. But I think that now that I've finished up White Rage and White Fragility, I'll have a little bit more space for heavier stuff, which this has been so far. So hopefully I will finish that. So that's June. That's my thoughts for June. If I have more time in June, I'll keep working on probably space opera. But for July, I decided I wanted to play around with the whole readathon thing. So I looked up a bunch of readathons that already had announcements out for July and took on too many. It's gonna be fun. So there's, let's see, 5 of these that I'm playing with. It'll be what it'll be, but it's kind of neat. It's kind of fun. So the first one that I want to point out is all of the links are going to be below, but is the Bookopoly Readathon by Liza. She has one where essentially she made up a Bookopoly board specifically for this readathon, and so you just like roll the dice and go around and then read the book. Read a book that fits that prompt and then go around and so forth. I pre-rolled a bunch and then just like went around and like got the prompts and so forth. So I've got the timeline for like where I end up and how many points that I get depending on where I end up in my list. So when I go over my TBR, they're in the order that I have to read them in order to get the points for Bookopoly. I can read other things in between if I want, but if I read something out of order, then that book is no longer going to count for that prompt where it is later on, so I'll have to find another one. It'll be too messy. So I'm not going to do that. Those books I'm going to read in that order. If I feel like reading something else in the middle, that's fine. So that's the first one, and that's kind of guiding the rest of this because it's the most particular. The next one is Summer School Readathon with Doris from All D Books. And that was kind of fun. Like, I've always been kind of a school sort of person. And so with that one, essentially, you read books that fit various subjects. So you read something that counts as language arts and is something attached to science, something with math or numbers in it, and something with social studies. And then there's also the ability to pick one for like electives. And then there are a couple of extra challenges. One is research and one is Common Core, having like a fiction and a nonfiction that work together. If I wasn't doing Bookopoly, I probably would do that challenge, but it just didn't work out so far, and the next one is African Fantasy and Science Fiction Readathon with Soila Kenya. She made a very good point that while we're seeking to read all of these really great Black authors and really expand that, it would be good to not leave Africa out of that. And so she's putting a readathon together where you just try to read some fantasy or sci-fi that is written by an African author or set in Africa. So I'm gonna try to get a couple of those. Then there is All the Worlds a Page with Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe, and that is all things Shakespeare, which I don't read much Shakespeare, but I don't know, it seemed like something that might be kind of neat to throw in there as well and to take part in. And then finally, but certainly not last, is the Fuckathon with Noria Reads. And yeah, that's going to be so much fun. So much fun. And it was really great trying to like specifically find books that would fit with as many of these different things as possible. So for the Fuckathon, essentially, you are trying to basically say fuck you to all the terrible things. So fuck white supremacy, fuck ageism, fuck ableism, just like a whole bunch of really great prompts. And it'll be really interesting as I read what I can actually count them for. I made my best guess when I was doing my TBR, but it'll be interesting because some of them I think might be able to fit for a couple of other ones, but I need to read the book before I'll know. So that's the different things that I'm going to be trying to fill prompts for. And as I mentioned, I did a pre-roll of a bunch of dice rolls. Let's see here. So the first thing I rolled landed me on LGBT plus main character. And for this one, I chose A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor. Hank Green's sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing is coming out next month. I pre-ordered it forever ago. I've been really excited about it. I don't know whether the main character from the last book is going to be a main character in this book, but I do know that both Maya and Miranda were involved with April in the last book. So, if April is not a main character in this book, likely either Maya or Miranda will be in this next book, and I'm really hoping it's Maya because she is the best. This will also, I think, count for fuck book elitism, because it's just fun. This is not literature in the like highbrow sense. This is like whatever you want. So yeah, the next one that I landed on was Read by Candlelight, and for this I'm picking Depart by Sim Kern. They are also a booktuber and author-tuber, so you can totally check them out. I'm going to put a link down below to their channel, but it just came out and it seems very interesting. Yeah, it's got hurricane devastates Houston, and this character Noah is trans and Jewish and like coming together with other queer refugees and just all sorts of stuff. I think it's going to be great, and it's very short, and given that like there's a hurricane disaster, I think that like reading this by candlelight will be atmospheric and cool. So that's why I picked that one. And I think I could probably just, take a nice evening and read it by candlelight. So that's my thought on that one. That I expect to count for summer school social studies, depending on how much climate change stuff is in there, because I know that climate change is one of the things that Sim talks a lot about in their books, so it might also be science, but it'll at least be social studies, and for the Fuckathon, I'm calling it Fuck Capitalism. Don't know for sure that that'll be relevant, but I think it will be. Then, what happened was I landed on the free space, and then I landed on adventure. The result was it could have gone better, so I lost 50 points. and then I end up in a reading slump, and then I pay 100 points to get out. So basically my point total at this point is like 30. And then I hit treasure chests. This is a lot of like bouncing around the board. So I went back 3 spaces, and that, going back 3 spaces, is strong female main character. At that point, I wanted to get Shakespeare into this, so I just Googled Shakespeare strong female main characters, and I came up with Richard III. Apparently the main female character there, like, predicts the future, and it comes true, and she's kind of a badass. I don't know anything about Richard III. I haven't read any of his historical plays, and my history background is crap. So that might not be true, but that is what I got from a cursory Google search, and I'm gonna use that. So that'll count for all the words a page, and for that Bookopoly prompt. The next one I landed on was a beautiful cover. And I've been wanting to reread this book for a really long time. And it is God's Little Soldier. It's very big. I bought this when I was in India, and I read it, and it was really intense and meaningful to me. This main character really has just issues with fundamentalism, which we discussed in my review video, that I've got issues with that as well. And so it's interesting the ways in which this book is a mirror for me to the parts that the parts that I have to be careful about and make sure that I keep in check, and make sure that I, deal with my own crap. And when I first read this, I was just shortly coming out of my conservative Christianity perspective. And so now that I've been out of that for a long time, I'm really interested to see how I react to this book. Yeah, so in addition to this being a beautiful cover, I'm using this for Fuckathon as Fuck Theological Fundamentalism and Religious Intolerance. This has both. And then for summer school, I'm calling this PE because weightlifting and also endurance. I expect that this will probably be the last book that I actually get to, but maybe I'll be able to read a whole lot. So I'm going to go through the rest of the TBR, but if I can get through these 4, I'm going to consider it a good month. If I get done with that, I'm going to reward myself with this. So I land on LGBT plus main character again, and so this is a book that I first heard from Jessie. I'll put the channel down below, but they reviewed this a couple of times recently, and it seems right up my alley. It seems like an amazing book. I don't even remember what they said about it. I just, I have been trying not to order a bunch of new books because I know that that's a newbie thing that happens, and I want to not be that, but, I couldn't resist. So I have this. I'm going to read it. If I finish God's Little Soldier, I'll read it next month. This book counts as a Fuckathon for fuck ableism, and probably some other stuff, but I'll have to read it to find out. And then it also counts for Afro-fantasy lit, African fantasy and sci-fi lit. So I'd really like to be able to get through this one so that I will have at least touched each of the different readathons that I wanted to take part in. So this one I really do want to get to. After that, I land on the Sorting Hat. I'm Ravenclaw, aspiring Hufflepuff, and I did not actually get to Invisible Side of My Own last month, so I think I'm going to just start over with this and read this for blue cover. That will also count summer school math. There's so many numbers in there. It's a thing. And then also for Fuckathon, it will be Fuck With Yourself. If I get past that, then I need a book with a 3-word title, which I decided did not count the subtitle, and I went with Drawing the Line. This is about life, death, and ethical choices in an American hospital. I recently went through all of my books on my bookshelf, started looking at what I had there, and there's a lot of stuff that I picked up because the title sounded cool and it was on a cart somewhere of free books. This is a problem I had. And there's a lot of books on there that I have no idea if they're good or bad or what. This seemed potentially worth taking a look at. Either I'll like it or hate it. But I think I want to start researching and looking at those books. I found some Ayn Rand on there and I was just like, oh God, who knows what all is in here? I have no idea. So yeah, this is kind of part of that attempt to look through the stuff that I just have never touched in the 15 years that I've carried these books around because they were free at the time. That one, like I said, is a 3-word title. I'm also expecting that it will be a fuck capitalism book, and I think that it will also count for summer school science. The next one was for 20 or less chapters. I decided if I get that far, I want to cycle back in another African fantasy or sci-fi. So I went to the list that they have linked in their description and found one called Blackass, which sounds funny and weird and I don't know. It seemed like an interesting read and something I knew nothing about, and I think that's kind of part of the point, is to just pick up some stuff you know nothing about and see what you figure out and learn. So that'll count for African fantasy sci-fi lit. And I think from the description, so that book is about a character who wakes up one morning and is white, mostly, except for his butt, which is still black. And that seemed like an interesting premise. And, it's an African author, so it's set in Africa. I believe it's set in Lagos, so I don't know anything about, and we'll see how it goes. Well, I will see how it goes if I get to it. If not, it might end up on a later TBR. And then, if I get that far, I forgot. After the God's Little Soldier, I actually landed on Adventure again, lost another 50 points, but I did pass go, got another 200, and then I got a Get Out of Slump free card. Spoilers, I don't actually end up needing it. But yes, if I finish Blackass, then I will go to Starts with J, so it needs to have either the title or the author start with J, and I love Jacqueline Woodson, could not resist, so I went with If You Come Softly. It is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, so that also counts for the All the World's a Page. And it's Jacqueline Woodson, so there will probably be some fuckathon that I can work in there as well. If I get past that, I pass go, get another 200 points, which would be kind of cool. Now we're just dreaming. We're just dreaming. The following one is Funny Dedication Page, which I had a hard time finding. I had a whole bunch of things that I thought might have a funny dedication page. I have some Robert Fulcrum's, everything I need to know I learned in kindergarten and maybe not. And I'm like, that's the sort of guy that is going to have a funny dedication page. And he didn't. And I was just like, okay, I don't know. I kept looking and didn't find any. And then I saw this and I was just like, maybe. And so this is Drift by Rachel Maddow. And she does news, but she's also kind of funny. And the dedication here is hilarious. It's to former Vice President Dick Cheney. Oh, please let me interview you. I was just like, okay. All right, cool. Well, I've bought this forever ago, never read it. You've made it on the list, Rachel Maddow, by having a funny dedication. Good job. Yeah, so that I expect to hit several fuckathon prompts. Don't know what they are yet, but if I get that far, I'll let you know. And then it also counts as social studies and research for summer school. If I get that far. The next one is something to read with your favorite drink. And for that, I picked The Kiss Quotient. I don't have it, but I think that I'll be able to find it on library, like Libby or something. And that one, I don't think I'm going to like, because I'm ace and apparently it's got a lot of sex things in it, which doesn't mean I won't like it, but it seems as though some of the criticisms that some people have is just it's too much, which means it's probably a lot too much for me. But I am interested because the author is autistic and the main character is autistic, and that seems really interesting to me. I get to read with my favorite drink, so I can just like, I think if I drink, maybe I will enjoy it more. Maybe. That one counts for slut-shaming and ableism for the Bookathon. So yeah, that is my plans for the rest of June and my thoughts for July. None of that is on audiobook, and I'm really finding that I like audiobooks, so I may also get other things here or there in the middle, but those things won't count towards Bookopoly, so they're just going to be kind of ad hoc as I feel like I want to. Are there any books on that list that you are interested in, that you have read, or that you would like to read in July, or that you would like to read at some future time? Have a good rest of your June. I hope that everyone in your life is doing okay, is healthy and safe, and I will talk to you later.